Do you know what's going on right now in your body? Every thought you think, every emotion you feel is not just some abstract experience somewhere in your mind. This is a specific chemical reaction. This is a cascade of neuropeptides, hormones, neurotransmitters rushing through your body at lightning speed. And here's the most important thing. You have become addicted to these substances in the same way as a drug addict is addicted to his drug. Listen carefully. When you're stressed, your body produces cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine. When you feel angry, it's a different cocktail of chemicals. Fear is another combination again. In your body, every cell in your body has receptors for these substances. Can you imagine? Your cells are literally sitting and waiting for their dose of familiar chemistry. Now tell me, how many times have you already felt the same emotion today as yesterday? How many times have you woken up and even before your feet touch the floor, you have already started thinking the same thoughts about your problems, your life, your past? And immediately, boom, the same chemical reaction is triggered in your body. Your body recognizes this. It knows this condition. It's familiar. It's safe, even if it's pain. That's why it's so hard to change. Not because you're weak, not because you don't have the will, but because your body is literally hooked on the chemistry of your past. When you try to change, when you try to feel something different, your body screams, "No, give me my dose. Give me that familiar stress, that familiar fear, that familiar resentment." Look what happens. You wake up in the morning, and the first thought that comes to you is the thought of your past. Maybe it's something that happened yesterday. Maybe it's something that happened 5 years ago. It doesn't matter. This thought triggers an emotion. Emotion triggers a chemical reaction. And suddenly you are no longer in the present. You are in the past. Your body lives in the past because it has received its dose of familiar chemistry. And what do you do next? You start acting from this state. You make decisions from this state. You live from this state. And you know what? You create exactly the same experience over and over again because your body wants validation. It wants proof that the world is as you know it. It wants its dose. It's a vicious circle. Thought creates emotion. Emotion creates a chemical reaction. A chemical reaction affects your thoughts. And the circle closes. You're stuck in a loop of your own past. You live in a state where your personality is just a set of remembered emotions, automatic habits, unconscious reactions. But here's what I want you to understand. If emotion is a chemical dependence, then change is withdrawal. A real breakdown. When you start meditating, when you start working with your thoughts, when you start to become aware of your automatic reactions, your body resists. It wants to go back to that familiar state. It will tell you it doesn't work. This is nonsense. But in reality, it just screams, "Give me my dose." Research shows, and it's not a theory, it's a fact, that when a person is stressed for a long time, the cells in their body literally change. They produce more receptors for stress hormones. Can you imagine? Your body adapts to receiving more stress. It becomes more sensitive to it. It needs it more. And now tell me, how can you create a new future if your body lives in the past? How can you choose a new reality if every cell in your body is tuned to the old one? The answer is simple, but not easy. You have to survive withdrawal. You have to learn to be bigger than your body. The quantum leap is not some esoteric delusion. This is a specific process. This is the moment when you realize that your present creates your future, not your past. This is the moment when you make the decision that you will no longer be a victim of your chemistry. You will no longer be a slave to your automatic emotional reactions. But for this, you need to do something radical. You need to start feeling the emotions of the future right now before that future comes. You need to teach your body new chemistry. You need to show your cells that there is another state, another reality, another way of being. Imagine a person who has experienced fear every day for years. Her body knows fear, is set up for fear. It was hooked on fear. And now she begins to meditate. She begins to consciously evoke a feeling of gratitude, joy, love. What's going on? First, resistance. Huge resistance. The body says, this is fake. It's not real. But if she keeps going, if she's persistent, something magical starts to happen. New neural connections begin to form in her brain. New receptors begin to appear on the surface of its cells. Her DNA, yes, it's DNA, that begins to change. Genes that were active in a state of fear are turned off. Genes responsible for health, regeneration, integrity are turned on. This is not a metaphor. This is epigenetics. This is real science. Do you know what is the most difficult thing in this process? Not a technique, not meditation, not visualization. The hardest part is that moment between who you were and who you become. This gap, this emptiness, this unknown. Your old self is already dying, but a new one has not yet been born. And it is at this point that most people give up. They run back into the familiar, even if the familiar is pain. You see, when you're stressed, when you're scared, when you're angry, at least you know who you are. You know how to behave. You know what to expect. But when you enter the unknown, when you let go of those old emotions, you literally don't know who you are. And it's frightening. This is more frightening than anything else. But here's the secret. The unknown is the only place where change is possible. The quantum field is in the unknown. All the possibilities of your future are in the unknown. And the only way to get there is to let go of the familiar. Let go of your dependence on the past. Let go of your need for old chemistry. Now listen to how it works on a quantum level. Every thought you think emits an electromagnetic signal. This signal interacts with the quantum field around you. The quantum field is not something abstract. It is a real field of energy and information that permeates the universe. When you constantly emit the same signal, a fear signal, a lack signal, a victim signal, you are attuned to the same reality. You attract the same circumstances, the same people, the same events. But when you change your inner state, when you change your chemistry, when you start feeling different emotions, you emit a different signal, and the quantum field responds. It must answer because this is the law. Your external reality begins to reflect your inner state. But here's the important thing. You can't cheat the quantum field. You can't just think positive thoughts when your body is in a state of fear. The body is stronger than the mind. If your mind says, I'm successful, but your body feels the fear of failure, guess which signal is stronger? The body always wins. Therefore, the change must be complete. The body and mind must be in harmony. Your thoughts, your emotions, your physical sensations, everything should resonate at the same frequency. The frequency of the future you want to create. And this is how you do it. Every day when you meditate, you consciously evoke the emotions of your future. Emotions are not thoughts about the future. How would you feel if your desired future had already arrived? What chemistry would circulate in your body? What signals would your brain emit? You have to become that version of yourself right now, in this moment, even if the outer reality does not yet reflect it. This is the hardest job you will ever do. Why? Because your body resists. It screams, "This is not real. You're fooling yourself. Look around. Nothing has changed." And most people listen to it. They listen to their body, They listen to their old chemistry and they give up. But can you imagine what happens when you don't give up? When you continue day after day, week after week, month after month, your body gives up. It finally accepts the new state as the norm. Cells change. Neural connections are fixed. The new chemistry becomes familiar. And suddenly, boom, your external life begins to change. Not because you worked so the outside, but because you did the inner work. You see, most people try to change their lives from the outside. They change jobs, they change partners, they change cities. But they take with them the same personality, the same chemistry, the same automatic reactions. And guess what? After a while, they find themselves in the same situation because they haven't changed who they are inside. True change is always change from the inside out. Always. There are no exceptions. You cannot create a new reality from the old state of being. This is impossible. It's like trying to tune into an FM station with an AM receiver. The frequencies do not match. And that's why meditation is so important. Not because it's some kind of spiritual practice, although it can be. Because meditation is a time when you consciously reprogram your body and mind. This is the time when you leave the old chemistry and enter the new one. This is the time when you change your signal. During meditation, when you stop the flow of habitual thoughts, something amazing happens. Your brain waves change. You come out of the beta state, the state of stress and survival, and enter the alpha and theta states. In these conditions, your brain is more susceptible to change. Your body is more open to new information. It is in these moments that a real transformation is possible. But here's what most people don't understand. Meditation isn't about feeling good during the meditation itself. Although it can happen, meditation is about changing who you are in life, so that the state that you achieve during meditation, a state of calm, clarity, connection to something bigger, becomes your everyday state. And this is where the real work begins. Because it's easy to meditate in the morning when no one is touching you. It's easy to feel love and gratitude when you're sitting with your eyes closed. But what happens when you go out into the world? When your colleague does something that annoys you? When someone cuts you off on the road? When you get a bill you can't pay? It is in these moments that you will know how deep your shift has gone. Will you react automatically from the old chemistry? Can you stay in a new state? This is a test. And at first, you'll fail this test over and over again. This is normal. This is part of the process. But every time you catch yourself reacting automatically, every time you realize you've fallen back into old chemistry, you have a choice. You can continue. You can justify your reaction. You can blame the circumstances. Or you can stop, breathe, and consciously choose a different state. Do you know what happens? Every time you make such a conscious choice, you strengthen new neural connections. You weaken the old ones. You're teaching your body a new normal. And every time it becomes easier, each time, the new state becomes more natural. But you need to understand, your environment will not immediately understand what is happening. People are used to you, old man. They're used to your automatic reactions. They know how to make you feel guilty, fearful, angry. And when you start to change, when you stop reacting in the usual way, it disorients them. Some will resist. Some will try to bring you back. This is a critical moment. Many people give up here. They cannot withstand social pressure. They go back to the old version of themselves because it's easier, because it's familiar, because others accept it. But if you really want to change, if you really want to make a quantum leap, you have to be willing to let go of anything that doesn't resonate with your new frequency. It can mean a relationship. It can mean work. It can mean habits, places, even beliefs about yourself that you have held on to for years. It's scary. I won't tell you that it's not scary. But you know what's even scarier? To live your whole life being a drug addict of your past. To live your whole life repeating the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, creating the same results, and at the end looking back and realizing that you never really lived. You just existed in automatic mode. Now let me tell you what happens at the cellular level when you start practicing it. When you consciously evoke new emotions, your brain begins to produce new chemicals. These substances travel through your blood to every cell in your body. When they reach a cell, they attach to receptors on its surface like a key in a lock. This attachment sends a signal to the cell nucleus, where your DNA is located. And here's what's important. This signal can turn certain genes on or off. It takes generations not to change the genes themselves, but regulating their activity can happen in seconds. So, when you're under chronic stress, certain genes are turned on, genes that cause inflammation, that suppress the immune system, that accelerate aging. And other genes are turned off, genes that are responsible for recovery, for healing, for growth. But when you change your emotional state, when you begin to feel gratitude, joy, love, the opposite happens. Health genes are turned on. The disease genes are turned off. Your body literally begins to heal itself and doesn't take years. Studies show that significant changes in gene expression can occur in days or even hours. One meditation done correctly can change the activity of hundreds of genes. Can you imagine? One meditation, but there is a condition. The emotion must be real. You can't just think, I feel grateful. You have to really feel in your body. You have to generate the appropriate chemistry. Your body's brain, if I may say so, must feel this emotion as a real event. And here's how you do it. You don't just visualize your future. You experience it with all your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel tactilely? What smell? What does it taste like? But most importantly, what emotion? You are immersed in this emotion so deeply that your body begins to believe that it is happening right now. And when your body believes it, when it feels this new chemistry, it doesn't know the difference between the real experience and what you've created in your meditation. For your body, both experiences are real. And if your body believes that you're already living this new life, it begins to act accordingly. It begins to emit a corresponding signal and a quantum field response. You see, most people wait for something to change in their lives to feel different. They say, when I get this job, then I'll be happy. When I meet this person, then I will feel love. When I make more money, then I'll be safe. This is the old way of creating. A new way is to feel the emotion now, before the event has happened. It's becoming the person you want to be before your life changes. It is to radiate the energy of abundance when your bank account says lack. It is to radiate the energy of love when you are alone. It is to radiate health energy when your body is sick. It's self-deception, many will say. It's unreal. It's an escape from reality. Your current reality is simply the result of your past thoughts, emotions, and actions. If you want a different reality, you have to start emitting a different signal now. And the most amazing thing about this is that the quantum field does not judge. It doesn't say, oh, you're not worthy of this, or it's unrealistic for you. It just responds to your signal. What kind of energy you radiate, this is the reality you attract. This is the law. It works the same for everyone. But in order to radiate new energy, you need to become a new person. And to become a new person, you need to let go of the old one. And this is where the real work begins. Because your old self is not just a set of thoughts. This is emotional dependence. This is a chemical habit. This is a physiological state. When you start meditating, when you start changing your thoughts, your body rebels. It wants to go back to the familiar. It produces symptoms, anxiety, restlessness, irritability, fatigue. This does not mean that something is wrong. It means that something is right. This means that you are going through a breakdown. And if you can get through that breakdown, if you can endure the discomfort of the unknown, if you can sit in the void between who you were and who you are becoming, that's where the magic happens. This is where your body surrenders and takes on a new state. This is where the real transformation takes place. But most people don't get to that point. They start meditating, they start working on themselves, and after a week, 2, a month, they say it's not working. But they don't understand that change is a process. This is not an instant transformation. It is a daily practice, a daily choice, a daily overcoming of your body's automatic reactions. Every day you meditate, you conquer your old chemistry. Every day, when you consciously choose a new emotion, you rewrite your neural connections. Every day that you stay in a new state, no matter the circumstances, you send a new signal into the quantum field. And one day, and you won't even notice when it happens, you'll wake up and realize that you're a different person. Those thoughts that used to come automatically don't come anymore. Those emotions that used to control, you no longer have power. Those circumstances that previously determined your condition no longer affect you. And then your outer life begins to change. Not because you're trying to change them by willpower, but because you have become a different person. You radiate a different energy. You are tuned to a different frequency. And the quantum field brings you experiences that correspond to that frequency. This is a quantum leap. This is not a gradual improvement. This is a fundamental change in who you are at the level of energy, at the level of chemistry, at the level of consciousness. And when that happens, your life changes in ways you couldn't even imagine. But for that to happen, you have to be willing to let go of your addiction to the past. You have to be ready to get out of familiar chemistry, even if that chemistry is pain. You have to be ready to become nobody to become anything. And this is the hardest thing a person can do. Not because it's technically difficult, but because it requires you to die to the old self and be born into the new one, not knowing what that new self will be like. This is a leap into the abyss. It is an act of faith, but this is the only way to real transformation. So tell me, are you ready? Are you ready to let go of that habitual anxiety, that habitual fear, that habitual anger? Are you ready to go through the discomfort of change? Are you ready to become a drug addict of new chemistry? The chemistry of joy, gratitude, inspiration, love? Because if you are ready, if you're really ready, your life will never be the same. You will switch from survival mode to creation mode. You will stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the creator of your experience. You will come out of your past and enter your future. And this future awaits you right now in a quantum field. All the possibilities already exist. You just need to tune in to the right frequency. And for this, you need to become a new person. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now, at this moment. This is your moment. It's your choice. This is your opportunity to take a quantum leap and become what you were always meant to be. And you know what's the most amazing thing? Your body doesn't know the difference between a real experience that evokes an emotion and an emotion that you create with just a thought. From a chemical point of view, from the point of view of your brain and your cells, both experiences are identical. Both produce the same cascading reaction of neuropeptides and hormones. Both alter your gene expression. Both send the same signal into the quantum field. This means that you can literally rehearse your future in your mind for so long that your body will begin to believe that it is already living in that future. And when your body believes it, when every cell is attuned to this new reality, you become a magnet for this experience. You literally attract them to you. But listen carefully, and this is critically important. You can't just sit and visualize a Ferrari if your whole body is riddled with a frequency of poverty. You cannot imagine an ideal relationship if every cell of your body vibrates at the frequency of loneliness and rejection. You see, your body is an unconscious mind. And if your conscious mind says one thing and your unconscious body feels the opposite, guess who will win? Body. Always the body. Therefore, real work is not just about changing your thoughts. It is to change your energy field. It is to change the chemical composition of your body. This is to change the automatic reactions of your nervous system. And the only way to do this is practice. Daily, consistent, relentless practice. Do you know how many thoughts the average person thinks in a day? About 60 to 70,000 thoughts. And do you know how many of these thoughts are the same as yesterday? 90%. 90%. This means that most people think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, make the same choices, exhibit the same behaviors, create the same experiences, and the same experiences produce the same emotions. And this cycle just continues over and over again. Your biology becomes your biography. Your past becomes your future. You live in a cycle in which today looks exactly like yesterday, and tomorrow will look exactly like today. This is not life. This is automatic existence. Now imagine that you decide to break this cycle. You wake up in the morning, and this is the most important moment of the day, because at this moment, your brain goes from delta waves of deep sleep to theta, then to alpha, and finally to beta, a state of complete wakefulness. And it is in these first moments after waking up that you are most receptive to programming. What do most people do? They immediately grab the phone. They check messages, news, social networks. And you know what it does? This immediately activates all of their old neural networks. All their old problems, old worries, old emotions are activated even before their feet touch the floor. And now they are already in the past. They're already in the old chemistry. But what if you did otherwise? What if, instead of letting the outside world determine your inner state, you chose to create your inner state first? What if the first thing you do in the morning is not checking your phone, but meditating? Not just sitting with your eyes closed, but real, deep work of rewriting your nervous system? You sit down, you close your eyes, and the first thing you do is you become aware of your body in space. You feel tension in your shoulders, heaviness in your stomach, tightness in your chest. It's your old self. It's the chemistry of yesterday that is still circulating in your body. And your task is to let her go. You start breathing deeply, slowly, consciously. With each exhale, you let go. You let go of the tension. You let go of old emotions. You let go of the need to be the same person you were yesterday. And you know what? At first, your body resists. It wants to get up, leave, do something. It wants its dose of familiar stress, familiar anxiety. But you stay. You breathe. You are watching. And gradually something begins to change. Your brain waves are slowing down. You come out of the beta state, the state of analysis, the state of survival, and you enter alpha. In the alpha state, the door between the conscious and unconscious minds opens. This is where change is possible. Now you start working, not by force, but by intention. You begin to become aware of those automatic thoughts that usually govern your day. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I'm not good enough. People can't trust me. All these thoughts that have become so familiar that you don't even notice them. And one by one, you become aware of these thoughts and let them go. You don't fight them. You don't try to change them by force. You just watch and let go. Because when you just observe a thought without giving it an emotional charge, it loses power. The neural connection that supports it is weakened. And then, and this is the most important part, you start creating. You begin to consciously evoke new thoughts, new images, new emotions. You see yourself as you want to be. Not what you are now, but what you are becoming. You see yourself confident, strong, healthy, loved, successful, whatever your vision is. But, and here's the key, you don't just see it as a fantasy. You enter into this image. You become him. You feel what it would be like to have this body, to live this life, to be that person. What emotions would you feel? What energy would move through your body? What would be your view of the world? And you let this emotion fill you. You don't force her. You don't pretend. And you really generate it from the inside. Perhaps it is gratitude, a deep, all-consuming gratitude for the future that has not yet come. Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's a feeling of freedom. And when this emotion becomes real, when you really feel it in your body, something magical happens. Your brain doesn't know it's meditation. He thinks this is a real event, and it begins to produce the appropriate chemistry. Serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, all these substances that are associated with happiness, connection, reward, they begin to flood your body. Your cells are bathed in this new chemistry. Their receptors change. Your DNA reacts. Health genes are turned on. Stress genes are turned off. Your heartbeat becomes more coherent. Your immune system is strengthened. Your electromagnetic field expands. And the most amazing thing is that this signal that you are now emitting, it goes beyond your physical body. It interacts with the quantum field around you. It begins to organize the particles and waves around you according to your intention. This is not magic. This is physics. This is quantum mechanics. But here's what most people don't understand. Meditation alone won't change your life. Just as one workout will not make you an athlete, this is a daily practice. This is a daily overcoming of the chemistry of your past. This is the daily creation of the chemistry of your future. The first days are the hardest. Your body rebels. It wants to go back to familiar stress. Your mind wanders. You're sitting there trying to meditate, and your head has a list of things to do, worries, problems. This is normal. It's just your old self trying to survive. But you keep going, day after day, week after week, and gradually something changes. Meditation becomes easier. You can enter that state more easily. Emotions become more real, and you begin to notice changes in your life. Small things first. Maybe you don't react as impulsively to something that usually annoyed you. Maybe you have more energy. Maybe you sleep better. Then bigger things. Perhaps new opportunities are emerging. Perhaps the relationship is improving. Maybe your health is changing. But the biggest change is who you are inside. You're no longer the person you used to be. You're no longer a victim of your circumstances. You're no longer a slave to your automatic reactions. You're no longer a junkie of your old chemistry. You become a creator. You become the one who consciously chooses your state regardless of what is happening around. Someone may yell at you, but you are left alone. You can lose your job, but you remain trustworthy. Your body can produce the symptom and you remain in a state of healing. Why? Because you're no longer defined by the outside world. You are determined by your inner world. You have learned to generate your own state, regardless of the sensory information that comes from the environment. This is freedom, true freedom, not freedom from circumstances. There will always be circumstances. And freedom from circumstances dictating who you are and how you feel. But understand that this does not mean that you become indifferent. This does not mean that you disconnect from life. Vice versa, when you no longer react automatically, when you're no longer driven by fear and stress, you're actually more present. You're more alive. You're more able to really feel, really love, really create. Because you see, when you live in a state of survival, which is where most people live, all your resources are directed to protection. Your body is ready to flee or fight. Your mind scans the environment for threats. You don't have access to the higher centers of your brain, those centers that are responsible for creativity, intuition, and connection. But when you meditate, when you consciously come out of the state of survival and enter the state of creation, everything changes. Your body relaxes. Your heart opens. Your brain begins to work in a coherent, integrated way. Different parts of the brain that normally do not communicate begin to synchronize. In this state, you have access to information that you would not normally have access to. Solutions to problems that seemed insoluble suddenly become obvious. Ideas that you never had before start to come. Intuition, real intuition, not fear under the guise of intuition, begins to guide you. This is because in this state, you connect to something bigger than your individual mind. Call it what you want. Universal consciousness, quantum field, higher power. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that when your brain waves slow down, when your heart becomes coherent, when you come out of the state of survival, you start to resonate with that field. And this field contains all the information, all the possibilities. It contains answers to questions that you didn't even know how to formulate. It contains paths to a future that you could not even imagine. But access to it opens only when you change your state. So every meditation is not just a relaxation practice. It's not just a way to feel better now. It's literally a reprogramming of your brain, your nervous system, your chemistry. This is the process of the death of the old self and the birth of a new one. And yes, it can be uncomfortable. Yes, it can be scary. Because you're literally killing the version of yourself that you're used to. But you know what? This version of you doesn't serve you anyway. She keeps you in the past. It limits you. She doesn't allow you to be who you can be. So why not let her go? Why not let her die so that your true self can be born? And when you make that decision, when you really dedicate yourself to this process, then the real adventure begins. Because you don't live on autopilot anymore. You don't repeat the same day over and over again. Every day becomes an opportunity to create something new, to feel something new, to become someone new. Your life is no longer predictable. And it can be intimidating at first because we all love predictability, even if that predictability is pain. But then you will realize that this is the best thing that could have happened to you. Because when your life is unpredictable in the best sense, it means that you are no longer living from the past. You live from the unknown. And the unknown is the place of all possibilities. Every morning when you meditate, you literally enter the unknown. You let go of who you were, not knowing who you will become. You let go of what you had without knowing what would come. You let go of a predictable future based on your past and open yourself up to a future that cannot be predicted right now. And it takes a lot of courage because everything in our biology, our entire nervous system screams, stay safe, stay in the familiar. But you do the opposite. You jump, you trust, You let go.